On Tuesday, President Joe Biden delivered his first State of the Union speech, first addressing the situation that's going on in Ukraine, before delving into domestic policy, including policing. In fact, I've got a video here where he is calling for more funding of the police.
We should all agree the answer is not to defund the police, it's to fund the police. Fund them. Fund them. Fund them with resources and training. Resources and training they need to protect our communities.
All right, so now, why did he bring this up? Why do I bring this up? Well, apparently there seems to be a narrative on the right, and you're going to see an example of that in just a minute. But apparently a lot of them claim that Joe Biden wants to defund the police. Now, before I get into that, I think we should. Now, wait, hold on. That doesn't mean getting rid of police. It means not arming them with high-tech military-grade weapons and equipment and actually taking some of the funding and putting it towards the community in crime prevention programs. Now, remember, police, their job isn't to stop crime. No, they show up literally after a crime is committed, and they're supposed to find those people and arrest them and introduce them into the justice system. Police were never meant to be Judge Dredd. Now, there's a handful of Democrats that do agree with me, not that many. That's not the majority of the party. For example, you've got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Representative Cori Bush, Rashida Tlaib, Jamal Bowman, Marcia Fudge, and a couple of others. But let me be clear. Let me be very, very clear. Defunding the police was never a policy position of Joe Biden. He has never promised to defund the police. In fact, Joe Biden was a man who pushed the '94 crime bill that actually led to mass incarceration. He was very tough on crime. That was his idea. Again, not somebody who was in favor of defunding the police. So, that said, I'm going to show you a video here. This is Fox News. This is the brain trust over at Fox and Friends saying that Biden suddenly done a 180 on defunding the police. Take a look.
Why has the administration and all the Democrats done a 180? Because it's an election year. And because the polling shows that defund the police was perhaps one of the dumbest slogans in political history. And now they've got to dig themselves out before the first Tuesday in November.
Yeah, I mean, that's why a lot of people are cynical when it comes to most people, when it comes to things like the CDC. Why are the masks coming off? Because it's an election year. Why are the police suddenly funded? It's an election year. Why do we talk about securing the border? Well, it's an election year.
Right.
Why are we talking about inflation? It's an election year and it's hitting everybody, but there's no answers that they provide.
I love how he talks about, oh, it's the mask coming off, right? The Republicans have pulled the masks off quite some time, and I don't mean COVID masks. Wow. All right. So first, it's hilarious how wrong that is. It's just wrong. It's not factual. And by the way, on some of the other points, like, oh, it's an election year, it's an election year. Wait, are you accusing politicians of playing politics? Oh my God, that's scandalous. I am shocked that there is gambling in this establishment. Yeah, of course they're going to play politics. But this is not one of the situations where they are. Look, Joe Biden is doing a reaffirmation of something that the Democratic Party has been doing, and which is funding the police. There's no truth to the claims of defunding. Anybody who claims that it is the mainstream position of the Democratic Party is simply lying to you. And again, I want to defund the police. I'm the one that's telling you, like, yeah, we should defund the police. But here's the thing, poll after poll, and I understand this is not a popular position. Voters don't agree with me. They disagree with me. Polls don't lie. Numbers don't lie. So I know I'm in the minority position, and they're right to point out that, yes, this is not a popular position among voters. So that said, Joe Biden has been consistent with his very pro-police stance, which fits in with the mainstream of Democratic voters. But I bring this up not because, I just want to disagree with Joe Biden and point out how Republicans are ridiculous and complete and utter hypocrites, and they also lie. But I think it's also important to point out how that we've done literally nothing on police reform on a federal level. There are some, localities that have done some that have gone in some directions and then have gone back in the other direction. We have had no big reform, no defunding. This is all status quo. That's it. We still, look, police are still killing unarmed black men. For example, Amir Locke was recently killed during a no-knock warrant. You also had a situation where former police officer Kim Potter got essentially a slap on the wrist for killing Daunte Wright. You remember that? Outrage. And on and on and on. And so here you have a situation where it's essentially the same. No fundamental change, which again, that was Joe Biden's promise. Nothing will fundamentally change because he's not a change president. He's a get everything back to what it was before Trump president. And some of you, of course, might have voted for that. Some of you are like, yes, nailed it. That's exactly what we wanted. Well, I'm not one of those people. I think that there should have been a lot more change. That said, you also have situations where you have communities that have, schools that are barely able to afford enough supplies to educate their children. Whereas in those same communities, you have police budgets that have more than enough money for the community. So if you're going to keep pumping money into the cops, you should at least put some strings on it. Now, Joe Biden, he talked about, we're going to do some reform and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Okay, well, don't say that after you've sent them the money. You know what I'm saying? I think that if you're going to do some money, if you're actually going to, fund the police, and there are some that are making the arguments saying that, well, look, yes, we should increase funding because that will allow them to make these big changes to reform the police. Okay, well, I don't see any evidence of that, and I could, of course, be wrong. But if you're going to do something, then or send them money, have them do something. Maybe, have some strings attached to that funding. Maybe something simple as you must reduce the amount of unarmed people that are shot and killed. Something like that. Or maybe have them change. Like, hey, maybe you could, instead of having the taxpayer pay for police misconduct when they accidentally murder the wrong person, have it come out of the police pension fund. Or, one of my favorite things is get rid of qualified immunity. All I'm saying is that there are different things that you could do, so just do something. If you say you want reform, then do a little reform and make any increase in the police budgets dependent on that. Like, you actually have to do something. You have to do something. Now, unfortunately, what we've seen so far, and maybe this will change in the future, but right now it looks like they're getting funded all the money they could ever want, because you do have a slight increase in crime, right? As a result of conditions of the pandemic and afterwards and inflation and all that different stuff. It looks like they're just getting funded. They're just getting money thrown at them again without any sort of accountability or reform. I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of maybe positions that Joe Biden puts up to try to change that. I hope he does. But at this point, I think it's a little bit of a naive hope based on what I've seen and the rhetoric before. So, again, I'm going to have a wait until I actually see it before I believe it stance on this one.